Hey, I met Harry today. Harry Mason, who leads RevOps at CodeLikeU, is actually the smartest GTMA we have because we shouldn't have any favorites. And he'll be playing with Claude Code specifically for cold emails for hundreds of hours. And today he's gonna demo for us a campaign that works every single time. Harry, am I exaggerating when I'm saying it works every single time, or like perhaps we should stay calm and say it works most times?
Genuinely not exaggerating. For any B2B company, it's going to work. Agnostic, whether you're in X industry or Y industry, it's completely agnostic. Primarily what it's focusing on is finding accounts that are similar to the ones that you've already closed. So in essence, you're gonna have Claude Code find your future buyers for you. So there's almost no way that it's not going to work as long as you're closing people that are similar to them. And it's very, very quick to set up.
Amazing, let's go. I'm assuming we're gonna be seeing your screen. Yes, we are.
Absolutely. And you're going to see the desktop app, not the terminal. So it's easier to follow along.
By the way, just what's the difference between the desktop app and the terminal? Because I always use it. I always use Claude Code within Conductor. It's like, what does it change to have the desktop app?
There's no massive differences. The terminal is quicker. The reason I'm using the desktop app is one, you have the Claude UI. So it's very easy to see what's going on. Things are more visual rather than a terminal view. So it's better to use, especially if you're getting started with Claude Code. I'd recommend starting with the desktop app so it doesn't feel so alien. It doesn't feel like you're hacking into the Pentagon just to use Claude.
Okay, I
It's
see.
pretty easy
Okay.
to follow it around.
Okay, so for people who want to get started with Claude Code, perhaps like one intermediate step before like going full on the terminal would be to use the desktop app, and they'll be able to do most of what you can do within the terminal, but it's perhaps a bit slower. That's what you're saying?
Yeah, it's also going to ask for approval a lot more, which is a
Okay.
little annoying because you're going to have to press enter a lot of times.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. Well then, let's see it.
Cool. So just a couple reference the tools that you would need for this. There's ways you can make this more complex than it needs to be, but in terms of getting like a V1 flow for finding lookalikes of close one, all you're going to need for this is Instantly. Instantly has a lot of things built in to that platform already, so you're able to run it through purely through Instantly, and you're going to have Claude do the heavy lifting when it comes to actually finding the lookalikes, finding the people, and then inside of Instantly, you're going to be able to use their features to find emails. To make it more complex, or if you wanted a better full round system, you can connect Ocean to find a higher volume of lookalikes, and then
Yeah.
connect
But just
Prospero.
one question, Harry, sorry, like, cause like, did
Go for it.
you explain what you were going to demo? So like, what you're going to demo is a lookalike sort of play. It's like, yeah, what's the whole idea here?
So essentially, the idea is every account that you close,
Okay.
it's going to get moved to close one. Once you have that close one account, you're then going to use Claude Code to find lookalikes of the company, and then
Okay.
also
What's a
lookalikes.
lookalike?
A lookalike is essentially just a company that is similar to the company that you've already closed,
Okay.
and similar in a way that's not just there in software. So we message every software company. It's based more around their offer and positioning, which you can do with Claude.
And why is it interesting to go for a lookalike of a closed one
Well,
company?
if you've already closed a company that
Okay.
is essentially going to be a competitor of who you're messaging, you're able to be very creative with how you position yourself. It's not just we work and we help software companies, we can help you generate leads. You're also going to have the element of proof of being able to say, hey, we've generated leads. Every single company in B2B is like, does it work for us? Well, hey, we're working with a competitor of yours right now. We think
Okay.
it could work for you as well.
Okay. So the rationale is saying, like, since we've generated such good results for one client, then there's a very high likelihood that every similar company would get similar results. And so we're just like pitching to them the fact that we could get them great results on the basis of results we've gotten from for a very similar company. So it's like the targeting and the pitch are very related, because it's like the reason why you target these companies is because they are similar, so you know that they could be potentially interested. But then it's like the pitch even to them is the fact that they are similar, because it's like if I'm able to generate results for like a company that's almost as identical, I mean like it's never identical, but like that's very close to yours, then there is a high chance that I can do it. And it's typically a pitch that works pretty well with cold emails, right?
Exactly. And the other upside as well is like, aside from just being able to highlight that you've got results, you're also able to highlight that you've worked in their industry before as well. You understand what they're using, especially like if you have more complex closed one tracking, you could even use the reasonings from transcripts to call out objections and sequences. You just have a lot of data on that specific audience. So you want to take advantage of it when you can.
Yeah, and this is true. Like, if you have a marketing agency, a cold email agency, a very common objection from potential clients is, "Do you have case studies in my industry?" Right? So it's like if you have one case study in a specific industry, then you might want to find as many. Okay, but like, let's jump in. Let's see. Let's see.
Cool. So the first thing that you're obviously always going to want to ask Claude, this always takes a while, especially if you're connecting tools, is ask it to research all the API docs.
Yeah.
And then just tell it.
But wait, like the reason why we use instantly, because why do we use instantly first though?
So instantly, the main reason we're going to use instantly is a couple reasons. One, right now, they are like top of the line when it comes to sending out automated emails, when it comes to deliverability. And then also, they have a lot of features under the hood. They cover like prospecting, email verification. There's a lot of other quality of life features they have inside of Instantly, where it's almost becoming more and more like a one-stop shop. While if we use something like Smart Lead, for example, you're going to have the same capabilities of Instantly, but you just lose out on a couple other quality of life features. So in this case, we're going to go with Instantly, just for the quality of life features.
Okay, perfect. But then, what do we use instantly for in that instance? Because it's like, from my understanding, the first thing we do is we look at an account with just one. So then, would we be looking at this instead of instantly?
We're going to be looking at that account in a different list because most of the time this is going to come from HubSpot, right?
Okay.
So rather than connecting the HubSpot directly in here, we're just going to export the close one accounts.
Okay.
To make it automated, you would have it pulled directly in from HubSpot itself, but in this case, we'll use a file. The actual reason we're going to be using Instantly is for the email sending. And the reason why we want to get this out the way first is because it's going to take the longest to connect everything up.
Okay.
And Claude's always going to make a happy accident where you're going to have to go back and forth with it to get it to work properly. After it's researched the docs, I would always recommend like asking it to build out the calls for what you're actually planning on doing. Here, it'll give you like a breakdown. This is what's nice about the desktop app is you're able to see things very clearly rather than being in the terminal or in another place. And then we have Instantly set up. So the next thing that we're going to want to do is have Claude look at our closed one account and then explain back to me essentially exactly what it's seeing. So we'll ask Claude the close one CSV and tell me your understanding of the data. This thing going to go off. It's going to look at our close one clients. It's going to come back with CSV. In this case, we just have Instantly in there. Don't want to actually give away our close one clients, but here I'll say, okay, we have one close one client Instantly. The POC is Otto. I'm sure he'll be happy to get some airtime. We have the markets as US, UK, and EU. And then what is it for? This is a lookalike prospecting list. So what we're going to do now is, now it knows we have Instantly connected. We have our close one account. We're going to want Claude to go off and find accounts similar to this. So the main way that we're going to do that is not only just tell it, go find me a lookalike, but actually give it a few different places it can look. So in our case, since it is Instantly and we post a lot of sales tools, we'll have our AI sales tools lab as one place it can look, but we're also going to give it a few other sources. So we're going to describe in very clearly what we want is to find the lookalike like maybe G2 and any other comparison websites. And then we want to give it a little bit of coaching on what it should look at, because if we are not specific enough, it's going to go off and just find, okay, it sees instantly, it's going to go to Clay. Clay is also in this crazy space, even though what they actually offer is wildly different. So we're going to basically ask it to analyze the positioning, the offer, and then also give a similarity score as well, so we can choose the ones we actually want to enroll into the campaign.
You know, one thing you described, Harry, like I think in the beginning of this conversation, you were saying, oh, if you want to find more, you could use a platform. It's like, because I think you mentioned Ocean. I think that Lookalike does that as well. Then Predict Leads does that as well, very well, like the whole lookalike finding. It's why do you use, say, our list of AI sales tools or G2 instead of like just relying on the API of a database that sort of does the categorization for you
The
already?
big the big thing is like, while Ocean is great, and a lot of those other lookalike tools are great at finding a lot of volume. For example, if I was building out a TAM list or just like a big list of accounts that are similar that I want to target all of them, then I was gonna use Ocean, or I'm gonna use Discolike or one of these other tools that is able to build out these lookalike lists based on keywords and a lot of these other features. What's the thing is, inside of those searches that you create with Ocean or any of these other tools, you're gonna have to put them into Clay or put them into another tool, maybe even Claude Code, and then ask for it to actually go ahead and rescore them. Because a lot of these times, these tools are just pulling in through keywords or other options that it just finds on the web. So you need to rescore.
You are saying that you don't trust the tool's ability to define, because it's like when you do a lookalike, as in like if you set the rules for what a lookalike is, then you can control what is considered a lookalike. Whereas if you were just to take another software, then it's like you'd get a lookalike based on their definition of what a lookalike is.
Exactly. And the big thing is like, it's not on the tool, because the tool's job is to find any company that is somewhat similar,
Okay.
right? And they're going to find you a lot of volume, which is great. And they're even going to, like, in their tools themselves, they're going to attach a similarity score. But the only problem with that is they're looking at firmographics, they're looking at sometimes technographics, but they're not actually looking at the offering or the positioning of the company, which you're
Yeah.
going to do with AI. So this basically gets you a much more accurate list
Yeah.
straight away.
And when you say you're gonna do it with AI, you mean that you're gonna have AI look at the entire website and then based on this give some sort of match score when it comes to the lookalikeness.
Exactly, pretty much. And you can see essentially, like, going through here, since I gave it sources to look at, like our site and other sites, you can see that like the score and the accounts that it's getting are all really good. So
Yeah,
Smart
that's
Lead
true.
is obviously Instantly's biggest
Yeah.
or most direct competitor.
Let's have a look at the list. Like Smarted is like the biggest. I mean, like it's like the most similar competitor to Recently.
Yeah,
Woodpecker is like the Polish version of them, essentially. Then Lemlist will be one of their biggest competitor, with the exception that Lemlist actually goes multi-channel, which is like a bit different. And Overloop is like very similar to Lemlist. So like yeah, because Overloop is actually like now has been bought by my good friend Nicola at List. So I'd say like given the list like Reply, Implement Market, Apollo, that like the lookalikeness is extremely accurate in this case.
it is. And that's like the big upside. So the thing is like, if we had Ocean connected, I would recommend it if it was like a campaign where we're not going after like closed one and we want to be a really direct, but more based on like, let's say we get a case study and we want to do a case study like similarity campaign. We want to just target a lot more companies on that. And in that case, we're using Ocean to get companies that are kind of somewhat similar is good. But in this case, we want to be as accurate as possible since we're doing a closed one campaign.
Okay, good. So
Cool.
what's next?
So now we have the accounts, which is part one. The best thing about closed one data is normally, if you're not tracking it, you should be tracking it, is the POCs that you actually work with. So let's say I worked with Code IQ if I go and message Mish and say, hey, we work together, he might not be too familiar with what aspect of the business I was working with. He might have no context at all. So since we have the POCs tracked, we're going to want to target POCs that are similar to them. And that
Okay.
also can make the email really relevant.
Okay.
Cool. So now, once we have the emails, we're going to ask Claude to go off and find people. Now, this is where I would recommend having Prospeo or a prospecting tool attached because it can get you a lot more volume. But in this case, we're going to go and ask just for some prospects.
So you're gonna ask it to find people in each of the companies, but it's gonna be the native Cloud Code agent. You're not gonna rely on the Prospeo, Visa, I think Leads Factory does it, like Apollo, like none of these APIs. Like you're just gonna go full on Cloud Code.
Full on Claude Code. So essentially, this is what I mean with how Claude Code is making things so much quicker. Because to put this into context, this building this same flow out in Clay is always a frustration because
Yeah.
the amount of filters you're having to put in, the rescoring prompts, there's a lot of things that are just like they're very small, but they just become more and more time consuming. While with Claude Code, we're going to be able to go from nothing to campaign and instantly by the end of this video, pretty much.
Okay, I see. And so here the reason why you just use Cloud Code and no API is because, from my understanding, it's like you consider that Cloud Code is able to fetch almost as good data as those closed database, because like those databases you need to pay to get the data. It's the best. This data is hidden behind paywalls. But for you, like the main sort of edge that those databases have is that whenever you want to go, say, a higher volume, then they will be like fetching the data faster, and it's just like more suited to high volume plays. But then in this instance, because we're just thinking of, say, one high ticket client that's close, this isn't something where you'd be closing hundreds of these every month. And so like you're more focused on the like accuracy of the contact data you get back. And so you are happy doing it in a less scalable way.
Essentially, you got it all right. For the main thing here is accuracy. I have faith that Claude Code is going to go off, it's going to come back, and it's going to give me exactly what I asked for. If I'm doing searches inside of Sales Navigator, Sales Navigator themselves will say like 70 to 80% of the search is accurate, and then 20% is going to be outside of your search criteria. So you always have to post filter again. Since this is going to be like we're finding very targeted accounts, we're going to find very targeted people, we can house it all inside of Claude Code without actually jumping around to different tools.
And one thing though is like I was looking at the what Cloud Code was doing, and I saw Clay being mentioned. Another thing, like if you scroll it a bit up, like in this,
Yeah.
it's like it says like go back down, sorry. Yeah, so here it goes, Clay find and enrich contacts of company.
Ah, yes. This could be in the fact that I have Clay connected, but in this case, it should
Okay.
just go off and find people. I don't think it's actually going to use Clay. It'll tell me in a second.
Okay. Because like here, like you don't know if it's using Cloud Code Native's agent or if it's calling Clay within Cloud Code. I know that Clay is now connected to both ChatGPT and to Claude. And so I wonder, perhaps because you use the desktop version of Claude, that like it would think of calling Clay straight away for this kind of queries, or like, yeah, I don't know, because I'm very curious about this.
Yeah, in this case, like I have a lot of different things connected to Claude Code. So if I ask Claude Code to do this, it can natively do that. What I'm asking is not very complex. It's basically I gave it all the information. Just go find someone at the company that's very similar to that, which it can just do with a Google search. In the case of, since I have connectors inside of Claude, such as Fireflies, Clay, and these other connectors, if it thinks it can do a better job by using one of the tools, I don't have to actually ask it to go use that tool. It's going to get the task done in the best way it thinks.
Okay.
And if you're in this case, it looks like it's using Clay, which is great. Otherwise, it would just go and do a Google search. But either way, they're both going to be as accurate. Perfect. So here we go. So we have a list. So it found everyone here. I'm going to ask it to redo this and only focus on the POC countries. So you can see here that the majority of them, where I had UK, US, and Europe, but we have one that pulled in here, should be fine because he's senior, head of sales. So actually we're all good. So we're going to, basically what we're going to do now is, since we have everything that we need, we have to recap, go all the way up. We have instantly connected. So this is where we're actually going to push all the prospects that we found. We have the API already built up. We asked it to go ahead and do a search to find lookalike accounts of our closed one. It went ahead and did that, searched a bunch of sources, came back with this neat list of companies. We then asked it to find the contacts at those companies. So essentially we have a prospecting list already. What we're going to do now is actually move them to where we can send them an email, which is going to be instantly. And for that, we're going to need to create a campaign instantly.
Okay. And this is why you did the API connection in the beginning, where you essentially, I guess, like you gave it the API key and then you told it to look at the documentation, figure it out. And so like it sort of understood how it can use instantly's API within Claude. And then like, say whenever you say it, like just create a campaign instantly or whatever, like it just knows, because it's read the documentation, which endpoint to use and how to do like whatever action inside of the tool.
Cool. So now what I would always recommend is, rather than just using Claude Code to be like, write me the best email of all time, make no mistakes, as you know, you see those jokes. I would always give it a framework, which is,
Okay.
I would pick a framework. This is just very, very simple. I put this together very quickly, but I would pick a framework that is able to have variables inside that you allow Claude to edit.
Okay.
And then go ahead and send that instantly. So what we'll do is tell Claude to create a campaign instantly, name it instantly lookalike, and then edit this copy variant as the email, and then give a custom subject line. So we're going to just go ahead and send this in, and then we're going to let Claude actually do the heavy work on the instantly side.
One thing that looks to be missing is the email address of each of our prospects.
We'll be able to get the emails. So inside of instantly, there's a couple ways. So we could either use instantly to find the email, or I could ask a connector inside of here. But I think it'd be better to do it all through instantly.
Okay. Well, because instantly does find emails as well, right? Like most people know instantly, mostly for the whole, like the automation of email outreach, because they essentially revolutionized the game when it came to like high volume email outreach with the whole secondary domains and so on. But pretty recently they started adding a database and then some data enrichment features and so on. And I guess like they are not as known or renowned for that, but they do it too. I guess it's good to know if you're looking for an all-in-one platform.
In fact, what we'll probably do is actually get the emails in the Claude Code front, but we'll create the campaign first. So we have a campaign inside of instantly, and then we'll ask it to find the emails and then push them in. And then it can use either instantly or whatever tool it wants to use to find the email.
Oh, okay. Good.
Cool. So here you go. So we have email one here, and then the two custom variables. So what we're going to ask Claude Code to do, this would be pretty important, is we're going to ask it to create this custom variable for us and then fill in something that it thinks is relevant. So the next step now is to tell Claude to do that. So find the emails of the prospects and then add them into the campaign. But first, you must fill in the...
And by the way, here I have a question which made me think of the other unanswered question we have. Like, I wonder when you will ask it to find the emails, what will it use? Like, is it gonna use a connector? So like, so you connected like specifically a dedicated email finding tool to Claude Code? Or is it like Claude Code itself trying to figure out the email? And then like related to that, my question is, when we did find people in the initial list of companies, you know how we saw that it was Clay that seems to be powering the search? Was it Clay in the end that found our people? And if so, does that mean that I need Clay credits, or like is it more a built-in feature within Cloud Code?
It's a good
And,
question.
yeah.
Let me check. Yeah, so in this case, we used Clay to find the contacts. And according to our plan, I'm pretty sure we didn't get charged. But that's dependent on the Clay plan. I don't know if it will charge or not charge. Most of the time, Clay won't charge for giving you a prospect through the platform, unless you're saving it in the same table. So I think we're all good.
Okay.
Where we are going to get charged is what it's doing now, which is using Clay to find the contact data
Okay.
on the people.
But
And
here, one question though,
go for it.
because like now I'm saying we are using Clay to find people within Cloud Code. We are using Clay to enrich a list of contacts within Cloud Code, and you connected Clay to Cloud Code. So it's like the reason why we are using Clay specifically is because you connected it, right? If you hadn't done so, it'd be using whatever it can, but it wouldn't be Clay.
Yeah. For example, if you just connected instantly as well, you could do it all through instantly. So you could hook up to use instantly's prospector. But in this case, we're using Clay. What's good about Clay is it's native, right? So you don't have to do anything fancy. You can just connect it inside of Claude. But it's also very nice to be able to have Clay connected to some degree because of the amount of integrations that Clay has. So
Yeah.
here we go. So we have all of our leads. We have the company, the email, and the offering that is output. So now we'll just say push all these leads to the campaign when they are done enriching. And from there, we've essentially completed the campaign creation process in terms of what we're going to say. And we've gone ahead and got the campaign already in instantly. So I'll switch to instantly just in a minute after this last prompt. And then we'll be good to go. This is the main thing about the speed of Claude Code. Because if I did this all natively inside of Clay, this would have taken much longer. And to the point that we'd probably right now be at the point where we just got done with enriching everything, let alone writing the copy, creating an AI column to get a variable to be filled in. There's a lot of different aspects that goes into creating a campaign that Claude Code handles for you, which makes everything, I'd say, 2 or 3 times as fast.
Yeah. But in this instance, we are using Clay within Cloud Code. So it's like, as a summary, what you are saying is that using Clay within the desktop version of Cloud Code is superior to just using Clay within its native interface. That's what I'm understanding here.
I'd say for some tasks, because there's
Some
times where you're gonna want to use Clay on its own and have full control of data. If you think about like RevOps or something more technical where you have to be constantly scanning and checking rows. But that being said, there's a lot of times where you build something in Clay you don't actually have to build. Like
Okay.
I would have had to take in all these domains, go to a find people search in Clay, put them in, find them, enrich them, download the CSV, put the CSV back in here, or I'd push directly from Clay. But there's just a lot of steps that you can cut out the way, especially with outbound. It's becoming really quick.
Okay. Cool.
Cool. So now if we jump over to instantly, give me 1 minute. So we have our campaign. So we have this instantly lookalike campaign that Claude made. We have all of our leads inside that Claude was able to get, which is great. And then we also have the sequence.
Okay.
In this
what
case,
happens? Yeah.
Claude
question.
Code has suggested a subject line I don't recommend anyone use anymore.
I mean, like this subject line is a big debate because I know that most people are shitting on it, but then I think Nick Abraham, who's one of the longest standing agency owner and was actually I think has 100+ clients, says at least the last time I checked, he was saying this is still the one that works best, so don't listen to the gurus. So yes, like you don't, but you wouldn't recommend it though.
I think I'm on the other side of the fence. I think
Okay,
I can't go with Nick on this one. I don't think this is a good subject line. For at least I'll say it like this. I don't think it's a good subject line for this campaign. I
okay,
think we can be a lot more specific,
yeah,
especially because we're coming out with like a direct
I see.
we have
But perhaps,
competitor
perhaps we could
interests.
look into let's look at the preview. But you know, one thought I have around that, or one of the reasons why this could work. I don't know if you know, but like Nigerian princes, when they scam people online, like the fake
Yeah.
Nigerian princes, they apparently like put lots of spelling mistakes on purpose in the phishing email. And like their whole rationale was that like when the emails were properly written, that like lots of people would reply, but then they would waste a lot of time trying to scam them because then like most people were not dumb enough to be scammed. But then like whenever they were making spelling mistakes and they were doing a lot, the only people who would reply to to the outreach to this outreach would be the ones that were way more likely to be scammed because like it didn't ring a bell to them that like such a badly written email talking about how someone like just has to get back some money from their uncle or whatever and could be a scam, right? And sometimes I wonder like perhaps like the whole quick question topic line has been so used that perhaps if someone actually opens and reply to this, then you are reaching out to someone who's very fresh as to that, so it's like the people who would be opening this would be people who actually didn't receive that many cold emails, so you can go ahead and close them. Okay, that's my best theory around.
I'd say when it comes to email, the best thing to do is just ask it to make you 10 different variants and then pick the one that works best.
Okay, I like it.
Cool. So if we come to preview, you'll see we'll have the full email in here. So, hey, I saw you offer this. We set up this for instantly that generated X results. Can we send over the strategy we used? The reason this email is great is I'll give you a quick rundown. I don't think it's the best email of all time, but a very quick
Okay.
reason of why a lot of people reply to it is we're just basically coming here with an email that is offering them insights on a competitor. If they
Mm-hmm.
are a direct competitor, they might just be someone in the same space. Regardless, it's very rare. People will turn down to hear something that one of their competitors is doing. This first line, I would shorten it a little bit. Go back and Claude and ask it to shorten it down a little bit. But the main reason is that if we're messaging like sales profiles, like we are in this case, we could come off as if we're actually inquiring like a client or a potential client. This is just social proof. So what they have here, this is the first line, this is the proof, and then this is us offering out something that's an insight of the competitor. It's very short, just focused on trying to get their eyes on a resource that we can send them to. But this is a great strategy, especially like for these closed one campaigns where it's we've already done well for this person that's very similar to you. I just want to tell you what we did for them. And since the companies are similar, they can think of their head. This will probably work for us as well.
Yeah. No, it makes a lot of sense. I think the lookalike sort of play, aka just finding people similar to your best clients or to the most recent clients you signed, is like, I mean, it's been working for a while, but I think it's gonna continue to work. It's not even a tactic or a strategy. It's just basic psychology. It's whenever I'm buying something, any kind of service or product, I'm thinking, did it work for people who have, say, similar characteristics as I do? And if yes, then in my head, I'm way more convinced that like it will work as well. And so here, this is what you're tapping into. It's just essentially saying, hey, like, we know the pains, we specifically know the pains of a company like yours because we've managed to say achieve um, some results for a company very similar. So like here's the proof, and I'm sharing like some sort of like case study or strategy. I guess like one way I would improve the email though is, but then obviously like this depends on the case, right? Because it's like if it's a client you just signed and you don't know yet what worked. If it's a client for whom we have a great case study, then I think that actually surfacing the biggest pain points we encountered or like they encountered and articulating them in the email is probably like the best way to convince them, because it's like if I can come to you and say, hey Harry, like you've been working at Collect, you assume that one of the biggest challenge is say, keeping top tier employees in the company, since they usually tend to try to leave and launch their own whenever they think they are smart enough. And then you pitch me anything else. It's like because you were able to articulate, say, one of my biggest pain points so eloquently, then I assume that you obviously have a very good understanding of the problems I have. And so I'd say like this would be the way I improve it. But at the end of the day, it's like if it's a campaign that you launch and it's like I don't know, like not too long after starting with a client, then perhaps like the easiest thing to do is to talk about like strategies and so on.
I think like also it's good to highlight this is like the Vest of V1 of what you can do with
Okay.
lookalikes, anything that you have like in terms of closed won data. So if you close a client straight away, you can't say like, hey, we set up a system for another client. Like you wouldn't write an email along those lines. What you would do instead though is you can take the transcripts from Fireflies of your sales team. You're going to hear in those words what that client's telling you. Say
Okay.
there's struggles. Like, let's think about a crazy niche right now, which is Amazon. A lot of people in that industry, they have problems just finding prospects. That's the main problem because they're all gate kept behind databases. So you get that information from a sales call. You can say, hey, we have a way to automatically prospect out of those databases. And instead of just like saying, hey, these are the results we got, here's like a specific,
Yeah.
objection I know you're going to have that I'm uncovering.
Yeah. Because something we know heading wrong in the Amazon niche is that finding Amazon sellers, for example, or finding their contact data is usually very tricky. But it's true, like we're actually paying some very expensive databases to
Yeah.
have the data. And so it's true, like we'd be like, as in like any company that targets this persona, like we know it's very challenging and we know it from experience because we felt it and we had to find our own way to sort of dig the data. And then like if we are using this, then it works. And which makes me think like perhaps something that could be interesting is like imagine we have all the transcripts, whether it's like the closed one or the closed lost. And then from the transcripts, we're able to derive the pain points we heard from a prospect in said industry. And then like, what we could do perhaps within Claude Code is we could start cataloging this. So it's like we had say 15 calls with prospects in this specific industry, sorry, and a pain point that we heard 12 times out of 15 is, let's say in this instance, difficult to find data in my niche, right? So now all of a sudden, perhaps like when we hear it enough times, then we could actually sort of have some sort of notification or, or perhaps like it should trigger a new campaign where we just go and find all of the similar companies in the niche. And then we can meet with the pain point and say, hey, we've been in touch and worked with a few companies in your space. One thing that comes back over and over is that it's very tricky to find data. We actually had our ways to do so. Would you want us to build like a free sample list for you to test the quality of the data? And then like we would sign. And so perhaps this could be like a very good thing to automate so that we don't only need to rely on the closed one, which by definition will be fewer than the closed lost, unfortunately. And so we actually can capitalize on all of these conversations. Perhaps this is something we should talk with someone in the team. I don't know who would handle that,
It's a good idea. It just shows like you can get really creative with a lot of the use cases. I mean, like your HubSpot is going to have so much data, or it should at least have so much track data on past conversations, sales calls, anything along those lines, and then using Claude Code to decipher it, and then basically using that as your ops person to put them into different places is the way you'd really want to use it. Close one's one thing. Case studies is another. Like every time we get a new case study, we run a campaign with everyone in the vertical. Same thing, like you said, with the objections, right? You're able to find, okay, this is a problem that they will have. Let's use Ocean or Predict Leads, Prospeo, whatever it might be, to just build a big list of companies that
yeah.
are all somewhat similar and then set up campaigns for them.
This was great. I think it's it's sometimes, and I think this is something we were chatting about. It's like simplest builds are actually the most efficient ones. Everybody wants to do like a 47-step enrichment campaign where you go and find the cousin of the wife of the sales leader who happened to have published like 3 times and who also happened to have raised funding in some obscure country, whatever it is, right? But then sometimes it's just as simple as saying, okay, who did we close? Let's find a few companies. Let's find let's find people who have a very similar title as the person who actually bought, and then let's run a campaign, and it works equally, if actually not better, than the too complex campaigns.
I think like the big thing as well is outreach has to make sense, and you can find all these crazy niche intent signals which do work, but the volume of finding that might be genuinely 10 people. If we have 500 closed won accounts, for example, and then we search for 10 people at all of them, depending on like the size of the company, then you just like massively expanded a prospect list, and you have a play that's relevant to all of them. Like it might not be the most personalized campaign, but it's very relevant. And not many people are going to turn away from being like, okay, what are they doing? How are other companies winning? How can we do the same? So it's a very easy strategy to set up, and almost one that any company can benefit from. And not a lot of do actually. You'd think a lot more would be taking advantage of their closed won data, but a lot of companies don't have something like that in place.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, thanks a lot, Harry. Do you have some final thoughts or some final advice you would like to share to people who want to win at cold emails, or specifically understand how to use Claude Code to gain an edge with cold email?
Definitely tune in to Claude Code webinars that we create. There's a lot
Yeah,
of live building going on there. Basically everything that you would see in a video, we're building live, and the big upside of those sessions is that we'll answer questions live as well, because everyone wants to do something with Claude Code. I think the last one had almost 3,000 people or something crazy like this in there, all asking
yeah.
how do we do this, how do we do that. So those sessions are great. So if you
I'm
want to
gonna
learn
share
about
the
Claude
recording
Code,
of the
call the
latest
email.
session so that people can see it for themselves.
There you go. Perfect.
Perfect. Well, amazing. Thanks a lot, Harry. On that note, I wish you an amazing rest of the day.
Thank you, my friend.
Bye bye.